In this chapter, we'll be talking about areas and volumes. Let's start with the areas of circle first. There are three main words in circle. One is called radius, second one, diameter, and the third one is circumference. Do you know what is circumference? Yes, it will be the line. Now I'm drawing in red. It's like the length or perimeter of the circle. This is called circumference. Next, to talk about radius, we always use the letter R to represent it. It is the line which you can draw from the center of the circle to the circle. And the next, according to the center, you can draw the longest line in the circle. There's a line drawing from one side of a circle to crossing the center to the other side of the circle. Then this one is called diameter. It's quite easy to see that D will be 2 times R because it's a double of the radius. And the next, you should recognize or remember two formulas which are very important in circle. One is called circumference is equal to 2 pi r. So I don't recommend you to remember pi times diameter, which you learned in primary school. And normally we will start talking about radius more often in secondary school. The second formula will be area is pi r squared. And the next, we will illustrate several simple examples about areas and also circumference of circle as follow. Like in 1a, as follow, it will be a very simple one, which in the question, the radius 3 cm is given to you. And you will notice that the question required you to present your answer in terms of pi. There's something special compared to primary school. Because in primary school, we always like to say pi is 3.14, which is an approximation of pi. Or sometimes you may be asking for pi is 22/7 because the teacher would like to ask you about the cancellation of fraction. But now in secondary school, we want the answer to be precise. So that's why we will be using the very long one in the calculator. So now you can take out your calculator and check. And in the calculator, you can try to enter shift exp, which you can see a little pi on top of it. And then when you enter exe, so it gives you a very, very long answer for pi, which is 3.1415927, around like in this value. So if you need to calculate the answer, and then so you need to use this very long one. But in this question, we are not necessary to do so because the answer is allowed to keep the pi over there. What does that mean? So for example, in 1a, the circumference will be 2 pi r, 2 pi times 3. So it's 2 times pi times 3, which gives you 6 pi cm. So that's the meaning of in terms of pi because it's kept there. This one, what we call it is a precise answer or exact answer, exact value or exact answer because the pi is kept over there. We didn't use 3.14, nor 22/7, nor the very long one in the calculator. Next, the area of circle more or less the same. So you have pi 3 squared. So 3 squared would be a 9. So that's why it's 9 pi cm squared. Now another thing you have to note very carefully would be circumference is a length. So that's why it's cm. Area is area. So that's why it's cm squared. So this is the thing you need to notice very well. 1b, I will leave it to you. But the only difference of the question will be, so this time the diameter is given to you. So that's why we need to find the radius out. Coming up next, we will be having an indirect question. Actually, it's like solving equation. For example, like in the question, you are asked to find the diameter of a circle with area equal to 616 meters squared. So because now you know pi r squared is 616, so that's why we need to let r cm be the radius first. And you need to write the formula afterward. And you have pi r squared equal to 616. This time the question allows you or asks you to use 22/7. Then you just use 22/7 r squared equal to 616. R squared is equal to, then you can check the calculator, which is equal to 196. Now after you use calculator, R is 14. So that's why the diameter will be 2 times 14, or you can write 28 meter directly. So it's a bit harder so it requires you to use equation to solve for R. Have you ever had the experience of riding a bicycle? Probably yes. So let's see whether you can solve the problem in number 5 as follows. Another question is telling you that, well, the diameter, be careful, diameter is 50 cm. So that's why I have a habit to write R is 25 immediately. And then now the bicycle travels for distance of 12.57 meter, a very short distance, actually, if you are talking about riding bicycle. But the problem is whether you understand the question, how many revolutions has the wheel made? And then you have to, and then there's a requirement of a question called give your answer to the nearest integer. So let's go back to the question, the meaning of how many revolution first. Actually, you can imagine that, or you can go and have experience. When you ride the bicycle, then the wheel will start revolving. And for example, starting from this point, and then the wheels will revolving in this direction until it goes back to this position once again. And then this one is called one revolution. So if you can't understand it, then you can go and Google search, for example, bicycle GIF. Then you can see how the wheels will be rotating in this way. And then you will see that one revolution, that means that the wheel revolves once, and it gives you the circumference. Can you see it? So that's why when you are talking about the bicycle travel for such distance, and then you talk about how many revolutions, so that means it's talking about if, for example, n is the number of revolutions you are making, and then multiply to the circumference, which is called 2 pi r, which is equal to the distance traveled, 12.57 meter over there. So that's why I would like to redo the question in this way. So I let n be the number of revolution, and afterward is n times 2 pi r. The radius will be 25, equal to 12.57 meter. But there's a trap. Can you see it? No. Be careful, because now the wheel is 50 cm, while the distance traveling is meter. So that's why you have to change to the same unit. For example, I turn the distance travel to be times 100. And now you can apply it for your calculator and check for the answer. I am now going to find my calculator, which is, okay. You remember that this time, so if pi is not given, then you need to use the very long pi shift exp in your calculator to get the answer properly. Remember to do so. And then finally, I've got like n will be equal to 8.0023 over there. That means the wheels will make 8 and more revolutions in traveling such a distance. And then in this case, as the question is asking me to present the answer correct to nearest 100, so that's why I write n equal to 8, which is called correct to nearest integer, not 100. That's all for the question. But the main point would be, so the question is testing you whether you understand the meaning of revolution when you're talking about wheel, bicycle, and afterward, how it can relate with circumference as well as the distance traveled. And then finally, then you can go back to your experience in riding a bicycle. Normally, you feel like if you're having a bicycle with a bigger wheel, it seems like you can be running faster, going far, right? Because in one revolution of a bigger wheel, that means you can travel for a longer distance. Okay, afterward, let's see some question about circle or semicircle. So for example, like in example 8, it is called a semicircle, half of a circle. And then in this question, you are asked to find the perimeter as well as the areas of the region in the figure. It's very easy to make mistake here because when you talk about perimeter, it's talking about all the lines which makes up the shade region. Now in example 8, how many lines or curves can you find out? Yes, there should be number 1, number 2, and at last number 3. So there should be 3 pieces of information that you have to find in order to get the results. For example, starting from the green one is half of a circle, and then so this one the perimeter should be 2 pi r, where the r is 3 cm now, divided by 2. While it should be very careful to look at the blue curve here, because now the radius is only 1.5, which is half of 3 cm. Can you see it? So as a result, this red curve will be the length of it will be 2 pi times 1.5 divided by 2. And finally, don't miss the 3 cm, which is a piece of straight line segment in the figure that you have to find out the length in order to get the perimeter. So as a result, the perimeter of the question would be equal to, so let's write one by one. The green one, 2 pi 3 over 2. The red one, 2 pi 1.5 over 2. And finally, 3 cm as well. As the question requires you to write the answer in 1 dp, so that's why please use your calculator carefully. Bear in mind that we use Shift EXP in order to get the very long answer, a more precise value of pi. And afterward, can you take a few seconds to get the results? All right, and the final answer will be 17.1 cm, which is correct to 1 dp. Here's the first one. Coming up next, we come to area, which is how we should do it. Now, can you see that in order to find area, is not talking about the lines or the curves you are considering, but you're talking about it's a big semicircle, minus a smaller circle, minus a smaller circle in order to find the area. And now we check the information for each of them. The bigger one, which radius is 3 cm, while the smaller one, the radius is 1.5. So that's why the area will be pi r squared, pi 3 squared, divided by 2, because it's half of a circle, minus the other one, which is pi 1.5 squared over 2. And once again, can you spend a few seconds to get the result? Finally, hopefully you get the answer will be 10.6 cm squared, which is correct to 1 dp. Finally, we come to a question involving solving equation. But it's also a very good question to tell you the word semicircle I just mentioned right now. It's talking about half of a circle. Now let's start 11. Question 11 is a question consisting a figure, talking about a figure consisting a square and also a semicircle. So you have a square here and you have a semicircle on top. And then this is the information of the figure. And then now it tells you that the height of the figure is 12 cm. Well, when you're talking about the 12, it's talking about the length of it, the length which is including the length, or more precisely, radius of the circle, as well as the one of the length of the square. So can you see it is a bit hard maybe to you to understand it. And now in part A, you are asked to find the radius of the semicircle. Well, if you're talking about it's called R, and then can you find out the length of square? No, I guess not. But can you try to rotate this line to anti-clockwise to the dot line? Can you see that it's also R? While for the blue line, when you rotate it clockwise to the dotted line, can you see that it's also R? Well done. If you understand it, then it is the trick and it is the way how you can finish the question. Because if you find that these two red lines, they are R, then as a result, the length of the square will be 2R, right? So now can you, let's highlight in this way. So the length or the height of the semicircle is R, the height of the square is 2R. So that's why then we can find the radius afterward. Okay, at first we can, we should let R be the radius, because I need a letter, I need an unknown in order to get the result. R and 2R will be 12, which gives you R equal to 4. So that's why you've got the answer for part A. Next comes to part B. Alice claims, that means he says, he can enclose the whole figure by a root of length 40 cm. So what does that mean by enclose? Enclose, that means Alice says that he can enclose, that means it covers all the lengths here by 40 cm, and you have to answer or you have to decide whether you agree of it or not. So that's why in order to do a question, you're talking about, well, can you compare the perimeter with 40 cm? If the perimeter is smaller than 40 cm, that means you can do it. You can do it by this 40 cm rule. If not, then that means you say no. So that's why the key of doing the question in part B will be you need to find the perimeter. Well, for the perimeter, first, how about we use yellow? Our first length is the semicircle, which is 2 pi. R we've got is 4 divided by 2. Next, there are 3 pieces of length from the square, so which is 4, not 4, it should be 8, 8, 8, and 8. You do not know why it's 8, because after we've got R is 4, that means the length of the square will be 2R, which is 8 cm. So that's why there are 1, 2, 3 pieces of length to be considered. And then now you can use the calculator and check for the value of it, which is equal to 36.566. I'll just write in 5 and you can say that it's less than 40 cm. So what's the meaning of less than 40 cm? 40 cm is the root of the length, which is used to enclose the whole figure. And now can you see that the perimeter is smaller than it? So can you say that? We say yes or no? Yes, definitely. And then now you say yes, I agree that Alice can enclose the whole figure by his root. So this is the end of this part. Hopefully you get the ideas about using 2 pi r and also pi r square.